The man with whom we're going to speak is Jeffrey Sitcov. He is the president of an organization called Doors of Change. So, Jeffrey, welcome to the program here.
Thank you, Rich.
We can't wait to get started here because Doors of Change, that seems like it bespeaks the entire concept of what it is that you're doing. Talk about what it is you are doing.
Rich, for the last 21 years, we've been working with homeless youth, only homeless youth, between the age of 17 and 25. They're called transitional age youth. And those are the ones that are least helped, most underserved of anybody in the homeless population. But it's the ones that will give you the greatest chance of breaking the cycle of homelessness. They haven't been on the streets that long. They're not that messed up with drugs or alcohol, mental illness. So we have had many, many success stories over the years of gaining trust with homeless youth ages 17 to 25. That's the hardest age group to work with. And but we find that if we can gain their trust, they want to get help. They want to get off the streets, many of them. And so we've been able to do that. We've actually helped over 2,600 homeless youth get safe housing, off the streets, and many of them become self-sufficient as a result.
Now, Jeffrey, how is it that most of us know of homelessness, but we don't equate youth in that target?
That's a great point that you're bringing up. I mean, these youth, Rich, they look like normal youth. They're very proud. It's not like the bag people that you see and the people that have the carts. These youth are very proud. They don't want to be looked at as homeless, but they are homeless. And, so that's why people don't know about them, because they look like they're normal and they really are kind of hidden, but they're there. There's 3.5 million homeless youth in America today.
Wow. Now, how do you reach out to them? How do you know where that target is that you need to reach, and how do you reach them?
Sure. We've been doing outreach on the streets for 21 years. We go out up until COVID. We went out twice a week, and we would, find the youth and give them supplies and gain their trust. And, we had an award-winning music and art program for 18 years, which they would take part in. But the most important thing is we actually would go out to them and give them water, give them socks, and invite them to come into the music and art program. Just the most important thing was we wanted to gain their trust, because these kids don't trust anybody, Rich. They have been taken advantage of by every adult that they know. A lot of times people ask me, why are these kids homeless? Why they shouldn't be homeless. Why are they homeless? 95% of these kids are not homeless by choice. Their parents are drug addicts. Their parents are alcoholics. If they're LGBTQ plus, 40% nationally that are on the streets. And so it's just terrible. Just because they come out to their parents kick them out. And so they don't want to be homeless. But once they're homeless, it's extremely hard to get off the streets because they don't trust anybody.
Now, when you say 3.5 million homeless
Correct.
Youth, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that. In the cities that you're focusing on, or you have had access to, I see Los Angeles, Chicago, Buffalo, Washington, and so many more. Where do you start? Where do you get the resources, Jeffrey, to even think about making an impact?
Well, we start in San Diego, and that's where I'm from. That's where I live, and that's where I started this. I'm the founder and president of Doors of Change. And, I believe that you have to help your own community first. And so by being successful in San Diego, we can then learn what works. And then we can teach other communities on how to do what we've done that's been successful, and which we did over time. We had a national walk for 4 years, and we taught Buffalo. We taught Washington, D.C. We helped actually Chicago. But it has to be usually within your city, because you have to go on the streets to find these kids and build trust with them. Everything has changed since COVID, because we were successful for many years before COVID. And then when COVID hit, we had to stop our award-winning music and art program. And we said, even though we don't have this program anymore, we've still got to help these youth. They're out there, and then you have the pandemic on top of being homeless. And so what happened as a result of the pandemic and COVID-19 is that these youth started to hide. they actually became even hidden. Usually, we would be able to go out in the streets before COVID, and we'd be able to find 15 or 20 homeless kids within 2 hours. Now you're lucky to see one or two, because they're really afraid to be with other people, because they know that if they get, around other people, they're going to pick up COVID probably. Their immune system is shot, very depressed. They're weak because they've been on the streets with not a lot of food and stuff. And so they really have kind of hibernated and try to do whatever they can to spread out. At least in San Diego, that's what they've done. And what we decided is say, listen, we're going to go out, we're going to double the amount of time that we go on outreach, is what we've done 3 years now. And go on the streets now, even though we don't see the youth, we know that they're there. We put up posters, colorful posters, that let them know what we offer, we can help them with. Getting medical insurance, getting mental health referrals, getting drug addiction, treatment, all these different things, food, etc. And these youth now are calling us. Instead of us going to them, they're now calling us. And we have had record-breaking years the last 3 years. I'm just shocked. We've doubled every year in housing. Last year, in 2022, we shattered our record by 188 youth in 1 year. We housed 349 youth last year. And that's a huge record for us. And it just shows you that, you just have to be creative. If what you had before because of COVID isn't working, what can we do to make it work? Thank goodness we felt that the posters were a possibility, and that was the one that really started having these youth call to us. And once they call and ask for help, we ask them, after they speak with our case managers, we have a phenomenal team that works with these youth. And they are, they don't judge these youth. They're very kind to them. And very quickly, the youth will say, listen, I can kind of trust these people. I can see they're not going to hurt me. And so they ask for help, and that's how we've given them the help. We've doubled the amount of assessments we've done. You just have to think outside the box.
The homeless youth, Jeffrey, do they form their own community?
Rich, before COVID, again, they would form their own community. There'd be like 6 or 8 or 10 kids in a little, they would huddle together, and it would be safer when they're together than being by themselves. Especially, about 40% of the homeless youth that we work with are women. And to have, a woman on the streets by herself is very dangerous. And so they would usually get together 3 or 4 or 5, youth together. Now, since COVID, they don't. So it's really changed what's happened, because, again, even now, even though COVID's less than it was, youth can still pick up COVID now. So they have to be very careful, and that's why they're kind of spreading out more around the city than they were before.
Now, Jeffrey, other than posters, what other tools are used?
Well, again, every community is a little different, but the most important thing is you have to go on the streets, number one, to find out where these youth are. And again, they could change because of COVID, but still, you have to look, because every city is different. And so we still go in the streets 4 days a week, still. And so that's our first thing. That's the first way we're going to hopefully try and find youth, is on the streets. And again, if we don't, we still put the posters up. And by having them call us versus us reaching out to them, they're reaching out to us when they call us. That's a whole different thing. Those are the ones that really want help, because they wouldn't call you if they weren't asking for help.
Now, Jeffrey, when they do call, how do you know what avenues to pursue?
Well, you have to be skilled and work in the field to be able to do that. If you see a homeless youth around, instead of giving them money, give them an apple, give them water, so at least they'll have something to eat, or give them, something to eat. That's a lot better than giving them money, because a lot of times you give money, they might spend it on drugs, and so I think that, even though every city is a little different depending on where you are, in San Diego, there's a lot of youth that are on the streets, probably more than Chicago, but there's still homeless kids on the streets of Chicago. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and there's a homeless shelter we work with in Buffalo, the Compass House, and there's still homeless youth in Buffalo. So they're everywhere.
I'm talking with Jeffrey Sitcov. He's the president of Doors of Change, an organization dedicated to working with homeless youth 17 to 25, and the opportunities that a community has to make a difference. Where would they start? Let's say a town, a reasonable-sized town, says, I want to be a part of this. Do you have satellite offices or tributaries? Do you have opportunities for people to get involved and be trained on how to help a young child who needs help?
Yeah, that's a great question, Rich. I would Google what homeless youth shelters in Chicago and find the youth shelters that are in Chicago, give them a call, go in there and meet with them, share with them you want to help, and they will, every, shelter, every organization might need something different. They might need clothes. They might need socks. They might need food. They might need money, whatever, everybody's a little different. But I think by Googling in your area, what homeless shelter is in your area, I know that there are shelters in Chicago. And so, I would do that because then you can help people in your area, which is wonderful. And it's great that you want to help. Sometimes they might have events coming up and you can help their events. But the most important thing is that you want to do something to help them. And, always people say, what can I do to help Doors of Change? Because we've done this now. We're going to be in our 22nd year in July. And so, people can go to our website at doorsofchange.org, and we have an angel team. We had the name, the California Angels, the baseball team, gave us permission to trademark the name Angel Team. And so we actually have Angel Team trademarked. And for a minimum of $11 a month, 11 means angels, 11 is angels. So for $11 a month, it's $132 a year, or greater. Sometimes people give us $50 a month, sometimes $100 a month. Whatever you can give, we appreciate, because we will do whatever we can to spread the word. And I have people calling us all the time, and we give them, information on what we do, because we're not hiding anything. We want to help homeless kids. So it doesn't matter where they live. And so we've got kids calling us from all over because they've heard of us, and we help them, over the phone. So doorsofchange.org, you can go on our website and check it out. But I would definitely Google and see what shelters are in the Chicago area. And I highly recommend people, try and help homeless youth per se. There's, the homeless vets, and you got the families, and you got adults. But the one that you're going to get your biggest bang for your buck, I believe, is helping the youth, because they're the ones, Rich, that have not been on the streets that many, many years, that they're not so stuck in the sand that they still can get and break away and break the cycle of homelessness if they get help. Most of the time, the other age group, it's more difficult. So I think your time is well spent by helping the youth. They're our future. And, if we don't help these kids that are 18, 19, 20, 25 years old, they're going to be homeless, 40 or 50 years, 60 years. 50% of the people in San Diego that are homeless on the streets that are adults were homeless when they were 25 years old.
Wow. Now, when you look at the amount of youth that you have reached and have placed and have helped, 2,600 homeless youth,
Yes.
that's a big number, Jeffrey. And that doesn't come without a cost in order to make this thing work. What's the funding mechanism for Doors of Change?
Well, the number one way that we raise money is by educating our community about the homeless youth issue. Because once you educate them and they say, I had no idea there were 3.5 million youth homeless in America. I had no idea there's, let's say, 2,500 youth are homeless in San Diego. I had no idea this. So once you educate them, they want to help. So by doing that, first, private donations is number one. We also get grants. We also have music concerts. Music is a big thing for our organization. People love music, and we're having a music once a year. We have a big concert. We had Three Dog Night last year. We had about 1,500 people. This year, Ben Harper, who is a 3-time Grammy winner, phenomenal musician, is going to be playing in San Diego on September 9th. So if anybody in Chicago comes out in San Diego in that time period, please get tickets to come to the concert. It's going to be great. But that's a way that we raise money, is by doing the concerts. I was very blessed to have Billy Joel was touched by my vision when I started this, and he said, I'll sign a keyboard. And so he started signing keyboards, and he talked to Elton John. They were touring together at the time, and he shared with Elton what he did, and Elton said, I'll sign a keyboard. So can you imagine, Rich, having Elton John and Billy Joel say, I like this vision, this mission, I'm going to help them, and it gave credibility to many people in the music industry. And since then, we've been extremely blessed to have, the Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen, Carlos Santana, Aretha Franklin, Buddy Guy, B.B. King, many, many, many musicians that have helped us raise money. And again, it's funded our programs to get youth off the streets.
Gosh, Jeffrey, I play the accordion, and if you want, I could perform for one of your concerts, and they can pay you to have me stop.
That's funny. I think you should perform it in Chicago, raise some money, and give it to the shelter there. That would be fantastic.
There you go. Have you given any thought to having these like televised over platforms where tickets can be purchased across the world, and like Stage It? We subscribe to a lot of the concerts that are on Stage It that are in Ireland.
We did have, during COVID, we did have a virtual symposium and a virtual concert, actually. And we didn't get that many people, to subscribe to it other than local people. We like to have live if you can do it. Live really touches people because what happens, we always have one of the youth speak at the concert. And of anything that we do in the concert, that's the thing that touches people the most. And this year is very special because this year we have, I think, the biggest Rocky story I've ever witnessed in 21 years. Justine, when I met her, she was 16 years old, and she was homeless between the age of 12 and 16. Why? Because her mom was a alcoholic, and her boyfriend used to beat up Justine, drag her by her hair, literally, and then he started taking her clothes off. And she said, I'm out of here, and she left the house at 12 years old. Do you know, Rich, that she just graduated from law school this month?
I love stories like that. What other success stories do you have that you could share?
Well, Justine is probably our highest success story, going from the streets to getting a law degree. That's pretty good. Tyler, when I met Tyler, he was under the Imperial Beach Pier from 12 to 16 because his mom was a meth addict. And she loved him, but she was addicted to meth, and she went through all of her money. And so he literally was on his own, sleeping under a pier for 4 years. And now he, from just giving him the skills and how to be self-sufficient and how to work hard and how to be persistent and consistent in doing things, he worked up the ranks of security. He was a security guard. We gave him the guard card. We bought it for him because he was such a giving person and he helped so much. And he worked his way all the way up to a supervisor. And he was recognized at Petco Park, where the Padres play, in front of 25,000 people for Employee of the Year.
Wow.
And now he's working for AMR, which is a big ambulance national company, and he's a supervisor there. So, these kids, if you give them a hand up and you just, don't judge them, just be there to support them, and they're going to have to do the work. I mean, they're going to have to work hard. But if they work hard and they set their mind on a goal, they will succeed. And just like Tyler has succeeded, Matthew was homeless because his dad used to beat the hell out of him for no reason. And he said, if it happened one more time, I'm going to kill my father. And he said, I've got to leave the house. African-American, incredible kid. He ended up, working hard, saving money. He saved up to $20,000 working so he could put his way through school. He graduated University of Riverside with computer science and engineering degree. And now he's making a very good income. He called me and he said, I just got a huge raise. I got a $50,000 raise. Okay. So he's come a long way from being homeless many years ago. And so it shows people, it gives them hope, Rich, that, these kids can break the cycle. Your donations, they really do make a difference with Doors of Change because, we're in it for the right reason. That's why we've been successful because, you can't lie to these kids. You might fool some people. You're not going to fool these kids. They'll see right through you.
Yeah. For an individual who is listening and hears numbers like 3.5 million homeless youth, it seems overwhelming to think that one person can make a difference. How would you react to that thought?
Well, one person can make a huge difference, like Billy Joel did. By Billy Joel doing what he did, he got someone else to do it. That other person got someone else to do it. And that credibility allowed more people to do it. We've raised now $874,000 because one person said, I want to help. That's an example of how one person can make a difference. I just say that you should get with an organization that you feel good about. Go there if you want to help homeless kids in your community and help them out whatever way you can. And as long as your intention is to help, you will make a difference.
And we know one person can. When we started the conversation, Jeffrey, it was the notion that most people look around and they think of homelessness the way it's portrayed on television or what they see in the streets, but rarely are children ever put into that package. And I think the intent here was to at least acknowledge that this is a problem. And the fact that you may not see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Absolutely true. And these youth do not want to be homeless. They are homeless because they have to be homeless. There's such dysfunction in their family. It's unsafe for them to be in the house. Justine would have been raped if she would have been in there any longer. Sometimes it's safer on the streets than it is in their house. Or just being gay. 40% of the youth that are homeless in America today are LGBTQ+. It's not their fault. That's who they are. And all of a sudden, boom, you get kicked out by your parents.
Well, Jeffrey Sitcov, you've proven that one person can indeed make a difference. Now, where do we go to get more information about Doors of Change?
Sure. You can go to doorsofchange.org. Doors is plural. And, there's some videos on there of kids speaking. They're very powerful. And there's some TV interviews on there and stuff. I think it's just important to educate yourself about the issue. I get calls from all over the country. Please, can we talk to you about what you're doing that's working? And we tell them for free. We have nothing to hide. And so if you're touched by the results you're seeing in our organization, any donation would be great. The Angel Team, $11 a month or more. It seems like a little, but I'll tell you, if you have 1,000 people give me $11 a month, it does add up so we can buy more supplies for these youth. We need the supplies, especially now, since we've been doubling every year for the last 3 years. We've had record-breaking years of helping get youth off the streets. We went from assessments of 365 2 years ago to 788 this year. We've doubled the amount of assessments we're doing of the youth in 1 year.
That's progress. Jeffrey Sitcov, I can't thank you enough for being with us and enlightening us on a situation that most people had no idea even existed, but you are making a difference. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much for having me, Rich, and I really appreciate people listening. And if you go on the site of doorsofchange.org, you'll see some things that will educate you even more. Thanks so much.
Jeffrey Sitcov, president of Doors of Change. Please join me again next Tuesday for another Rich Conversation. I'm Rich Rennick, and thank you for making us a part of your day.
She